Good afternoon, everyone. It is January 5th of 2023. And I was going to mention that someone's favorite lady from Wales had a channel up, but we all know that it was up and now it's down. So I wonder who's playing Big Brother and watching what she's doing right now. Well, anyway, I did receive a few questions, so I am going to go back into a little bit of my history. Yes, I was raised in a very unusual household. I used to spend my weekends with my dad. He was involved with diplomatic transport. So, usually on Thursday afternoons, I was put on a plane and I would land on Friday morning in one of the European cities. So I was with my dad by 3 p.m. on Friday, hang out with him, hang out in whatever city we were in. And then I was put back on a plane on either Sunday mornings or Monday mornings, depending on the airlines and capacity and so forth. So that started when I was about 9, 10 years old and continued till basically I was out of college, which was my early 20s. And I'd spend my school holidays with my dad in whatever city, country he was residing in at that point. Now, the fun part being involved with diplomatic transport is that uh, I was lucky enough to be introduced to various members of all sorts of different royal families. And some people I met when I was very young, and a couple of the ladies I'm still in touch with. And this has been going on for decades now. So I hear some good gossip. One thing I do want to say that while everybody's focusing on Henry and Rachel, there are other members of the British royal family that are people are making noise about. Now, let's go back to when I was young. My dad used to play cards with a bunch of guys in England, in London. And at one point in time, I know my dad was involved with something, and it pertained to the downfall of several casinos based in London. And I always questioned, why is dad messing around with this? But later on in my life, others explained to me that guys who were in the military, they don't always leave the military or government service. So they just kind of like switch departments and may end up working for other agencies under the cover of working for a regular commercial entity. Now, this is kind of makes sense because back in the early 60s, um, Prince Phillip, I don't know if this is accurate, but these are just stories that I heard over the years. So this is all allegedly. These are guys sitting around talking, playing cards, having a few cocktails. Yeah, I saw a lot of bottles of Johnny Walker Black Label, and to this day, I can't even stand the smell of that stuff. Well, one story I heard is that, yeah, okay, if you even look at some of the episodes of the Netflix series The Crown, they kind of hint around that maybe Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, was involved with on the fringes with people pertaining to the Profumo scandal. My gut feeling is that, yeah, I think he was hanging around those people to gather information. And what any information that should he have found out, I think he relayed it straight back to MI5, MI6 to so they could expose the spy scandal and clean up the mess. And Philip had the entree to get into these groups. So, like a good guy in the military, he kept his eyes and ears open, watched his P's and Q's. When they had enough information, then he disenfranchised himself and the whole scandal exploded. I know my dad was involved with the takedown of the casinos during the 1970s because it was one of the few times where we were spending extended periods of time back here in the United States. And my mom and dad were real saying, "You got to go to the movies this afternoon. You got to be out of the house." And I'm like, "What?" Usually I had to bug them if I wanted to go to the movies with myself and one of my friends. But this case, they're like, "Get one of your friends and go to the movies and actually see the movie twice or see two movies." Or they said they wanted me out of the house for an extended period of time. Later on, I found this little pocket recorder laying around the house and some cassette tapes. And I was a preteen. And so, yeah, my parents would leave me in the house by myself. I was like maybe 12, 13 years old. Yes, I listened to the recording on the tape. It was my dad having a discussion with guys from Scotland Yard. I can't remember much of it, but I do remember them. Hi, it's Inspector so and so, and this and that. So, okay, later on, I found it was confirmed. Yeah, Dad was involved with that takedown. So now in the media, we're seeing a lot of things pertaining to Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. Okay, all heck broke loose with that television interview. And now it's been a couple of years, and he's slowly, gently being introduced back into being shown with the rest of the royal family at certain family events. Now, Andrew was in the Navy, military, and the reports that I heard, he really was doing a good job. He was a loyal member of the Royal Navy, respected his parents, the Queen and Prince Phillip, and he for Queen and country. That was his life. That was his job. Now, after he finished his tour of duty with the Royal Navy, he was going out and was traveling the world to help with the British trade, economics. Going around to various countries, you see a lot of stuff. You hear a lot of things. And yes, I spent quite a bit of time in Middle Eastern countries. And people tend to talk in front of women or other people thinking, "Oh, they don't understand what we're saying." Well, as me as a kid being over there, I did pick up quite a few different languages. I can kind of piece together what people are saying. So it wouldn't surprise me that Prince Andrew, Duke of York, also started picking up different phrases and languages if he's traveling all over. And it wouldn't be surprised that he was trained to speak or at least understand certain languages, so he could say, "Hey, this isn't right, something's going on." Andrew also went and hung out with the fashionable crowd. Yes, there's probably pictures of him. He probably was informed by one of the European agencies like Interpol or MI5, MI6 that there's monkey business happening with this guy out of Miami. So, of course, it would have been a real feather in the cap for this guy out of Miami to have a member of the royal family playing around with on his yacht out in the Caribbean. I think Andrew went there to get information. Just information. I don't think he really played around with any of these women. He might have like played a role, but I don't think he was actually in any sort of physical entanglement. I don't think he allowed himself to be suckered into the honeypot situation where there would be photographs or video. Conversation, a squeeze, a cuddle. but nothing that could really be damaging. And then all of a sudden, he has the interview, things blow up. But I think that was basically he had to take a fall so he could release all the information, all the evidence that he gathered. And once that, then we see, okay, this guy from Miami, he's arrested now, and all of a sudden he's supposed to allegedly committed suicide. Or maybe he's being held elsewhere for more till he spills the beans. So now I think Prince Andrew, he did his job. He went in, he infiltrated this group of people, found out all the scuttlebutt. Excuse me. All the information is in the hands of the correct authorities. And now that that has been done, he is now being slowly reintroduced into the public. Hey, he's a good guy, even though he's no longer a senior working royal. We accept him as the family. And I believe that in the future, he will be quietly being seen working with charities that help to support veterans. Because, hey, he knows what it's like. He served active duty. He was involved with the Falklands. So besides Prince Phillip, his father, those are the only two that had any real military experience in a war. I kind of suspect, and I heard through a grapevine, the redhead with the American wife, basically they had to keep him under lock and key because he would brag about where he was going to be before his deployment. So they had to protect him. Yeah, he could be sent over to that country, but he was always in a very safe zone behind the battle lines. So that's basically all I wanted to chat about today. And if anyone has any questions, go ahead, leave them in the comments. I have put in the comments also the disclaimer. Everything that I feel that I talk about, it's my own opinions. Please go do your own research. And little things that come to me, a lot of it is my gut instinct, the clairvoyant, the psychic ability. So believe what you will, but these are just my thoughts on what's happening. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and love to hear from you all what your thoughts and feelings are. Have a great one. Bye.